The UN has put forward a new study showing that if companies had to actually take on the financial costs for the environment that they damage in carrying out business, they would not be profitable whatsoever, and that this goes a long way to explaining why states end up carrying the costs of the financial devastation that takes place as a result of their business. Now, this new report by True Cause on behalf of the Economics of Ecosystems Biodiversity Program sponsored by the United Nations Environment examined the money earned by the biggest the industries on the planet, and then contrast them with 100 different types of environmental costs to see if those industries would still remain profitable. The report found that when you took the externalized costs into effect, essentially none of the industries was actually making a profit. The huge profit margins being made by the world's most profitable industries, oil, meat, tobacco, mining, electronics, is being paid for against the future. We are trading long-term sustainability for the benefit of shareholders. Sometimes the environmental costs vastly outweigh revenue, meaning that these industries would be constantly losing money they had actually been paying for the ecological damage and strain they were causing. One of the things specifically mentioned by the study was the water company Nestle. As you know, right now, as California goes to the drought, Nestle is pumping water out unlimited for a price that's said to be very, very low, but has not actually been disclosed yet. They're pumping all this water out of California when it's going through a drought, and then turning around, bottling it, and selling it back to the people who are going through a drought. And it said that this business model is making at least $4 billion a year off of those who are actually suffering from the drought. How much money would these companies be losing if they were actually covering the environmental costs or paying to reduce their environmental impact? Well, the report also covers this. So now that it has been abundantly clear that our current regulatory system is corrupt, deficient, what do we do about it? Firstly, we need to stop allowing companies to pretend that they are environmentally responsible when they are worse behaved than any child you have ever met. If someone came in and destroyed your kitchen to make you a slice of bread with butter, demanding money for it, and then bragged about being a responsible cook, it wouldn't be any less ridiculous. Now, this definitely shows us some real hard data and numbers that shows that capitalism is not environmentally sustainable. Capitalism will kill us. It will destroy the environment. It cannot be environmentally sustainable in any way, shape, or form. It does not work. Not even if we have states or other actors carrying the costs of repairing the damage that they do. I mean, this is right here in front of our face. You know, there's no denying this. Of course, many libertarians would argue otherwise and claim not real capitalism would magically work. But it's information like this that makes people begin to push ideas towards a resource-based economy like the Venus Project advocates for, being that we have to base our economy off of the resources, not profit. Of course, this really is just something that socialists have put out since our thought appeared on the world stage. Socialism isn't about just making money. For somehow in their mind that driving everything by the profit motive continues the same in socialism. It's not. A more responsible use of all resources, including human labor, and the social impact of those relations is what socialism is about. This definitely shows that we do have to, out of necessity, shift to socialism, or we are literally all going to die. We don't have any choice. This has to be done, or there will be 7 billion people in the world dead, which would outrank any genocide capitalism has ever carried out. But even the fact that even these numbers being out and being put in the public's face, there will still be an adamant denunciation against any type of government intervention whatsoever to try to stop this from happening. Of course, government intervention in trying to deal with the environmental damage is just perfectly fine, but trying to stop this from ever happening, that would be going too far. And of course, this is an issue that we don't even see. We're too busy complaining about terrorists who kill, a handful of people a year in our countries. Meanwhile, this gigantic, ball of death is hanging over our heads. And even then, we don't even see the worst of the environmental damage. That happens in the third world. They experience the really high end of the environmental damage. We see very little of it. To them, that's a massive, huge thing that affects their everyday daily life and kills them in the thousands. My point is that even now that we have proof that capitalism literally cannot help but kill us, it will change nothing in the minds of the average person. The average first world person will basically ignore this, because in the end, it's still in their interest to carry this out, because it will give them more stuff. It will still give them a higher level of material life. Now, if we take what the United States consumes and applies that same level of consumption to the rest of the world, it takes about 4 or 5 planet Earths full of resources to carry it out. So if there really was a reorganizing of the world's resources and the labor power therein, wealth, etc., the United States would drop immensely. It would drop by 4/5, 3/4, because the level of consumption right now is absolutely unsustainable. But this thing will be completely ignored by first world people because they don't want to have to take on the sacrifices that are necessary to save the environment from ourselves, from our own economic system. And at times like this, I get really depressed. We don't really stand a chance of survival. Capitalism is going to drive the whole world off the edge of a cliff, while the bourgeoisie are going to be sitting there falling off with us, still trying to stuff $100 bills into their pockets. Thank you for watching. Won't you go ahead, rate, comment, subscribe, and share on various social media. And if you want, you can head over to my Patreon page and show your support. Or you could head over to the MRN bookstore and check out some of the latest books available.